Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to quickly talk about the PyQt in the Python. So let's get started. First, I talked about the tkinter and how to work with it. In this video, I want to talk about another technology for creating the GUI or the graphical user interface for the Python application, and it is the PyQt 6. The PyQt 6 is the latest version, and we can create the amazing and enterprise application by that. At the beginning, let's talk about the simple question. What is the PyQt? The PyQt stands for Python plus the Qt. The PyQt stands for the Python plus the Qt. And what is the PyQt? The PyQt is the Python version of the cross-platform GUI toolkit, the Qt. So we have the Python that I talked about how to work with it. Then the Qt toolkit or the library. And what is the Qt? The Qt is the toolkit or the widget toolkit for creating the graphical user interfaces, as well as in the multi-platform such as the Linux, Windows, Mac OS, Android, and so on. So by using the PyQt, we have the power of the Qt library in the Python. And the PyQt is the first software that is developed by the British firm Riverbank Computing. So we can easily get started working with the PyQt in the Python and get access to the power of the Qt. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at the Google and open up it. So at the beginning, let's search the Qt. If I search the Qt, you can see the qt.io. Currently, it is this website. Maybe in the future, you can see all the matters. So this is the qt.io. And if I get inside the Qt website, so I have this website that is dedicated Qt website. And by using the Qt, we can easily create the different applications for different operating systems, from the microcontroller operating systems up to the Linux, Windows, Mac OS, Android, and so on. So if you want to add the GUI or the graphical user interface for the applications and use it in the multiple platforms, then the Qt is great for you. And also we can use it in the Python, but we can't use directly the Qt in the Python until using the PyQt. So this is the PyQt. And if you search the Google, you can see something like this and get inside the images tab over here. So this is the example or the tool for working with the graphical power of the Qt in the Python. We have the window and different tools and widgets like the combo box, the checkboxes, the radio buttons, and also the tab control, the data grid view, some other text boxes and numeric up down, a slider, a scroll bar, and also the progress bar, and many other tools and the widgets. We can easily create something like this in the PyQt or the Qt designer and other applications using the PyQt. So we can do it easily and quickly. Previously, I talked about the tkinter and why we need to work with the tkinter. And as I told you, the tkinter is the built-in library for adding the GUI. But despite of the tkinter, we have the Qt. And the latest version of the PyQt is the PyQt 6. Why we need to learn the PyQt? Because it is really easy to learn. Then the PyQt has the modern look and the great UI. As I told you previously, this is the example, or even this is the designer of it. We can easily design anything that we want, from the simple application to most complex and professional one. So it's really simple and it's straightforward working with the Qt and the Qt designer. And after that, if I take a look over here, it is the multi-platform, including Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and so on. And the last one is really most important feature of the Qt. The PyQt has the designer tool. So we can use it to build the GUIs easily. For better understanding, let's take a quick look. First, I talked about the tkinter and how to use it. In the tkinter, we need to write everything manually. But in the PyQt, we have the designer, and this is the designer. In this designer, we can easily and quickly design anything that we want. So I have the window, something like this, and I can easily manage my widgets. For instance, I have the toolbox, I can add the button over here and the checkbox and also the radio button, and all of these are the widgets for designing the application. For instance, the dial, and after that the spin box, and also the vertical slider, then the LCD number. So I have the label, and after that the vertical line. All of these are easily added to the window or the form. Then we can easily use the PyQt to load this window. And if I take a look at my sample over here in the Python, so I use it, and this is the designer, and you can see only I load it, and I right click over here and run. So it's done. Now I have the same thing over here. Also, I have the menu over here and all of this. So we can design our application in the Qt designer, then use it inside the Python application. And this is the power of the Qt. So far we learned more about the Qt and the PyQt and why we need to work with the PyQt. And there's a simple question. Maybe you ask yourself, sir, which one is better, the tkinter or the Qt? Everything based on your needs. In the tkinter, we have the control over everything. Then we need to spend a lot of time for creating anything from scratch. But in the Qt, we have the designer that you can use it to speed up creating the applications. So personally, I prefer to use the Qt because of the designer and also many other tools available over here that we can create most of them in the tkinter. So if you're a beginner and you want to learn more about the GUI, you can start working with the tkinter, then switch to another technologies like the Qt, the WX, or the PySite, the Kiwi, and so on. And if you want to be like me, you can easily learn all of this because the structure for all of these technologies are similar. And don't forget, if you want to write everything from scratch and you don't want to use the designer, something like this, then you can do it easily like the tkinter and use the manual method and create everything from scratch, line by line. You can write everything, set any properties, and after that you can see the result, something like this. But as I told you, personally, I prefer to spend my time for creating better and easier application, not writing all of these auto-generated codes that we can generate all of this by the designer. Okay, excellent. We learned a lot. Now it's time to talk about how we can start working with the PyQt 6. It's time consuming, so let's get start working with it in the next and upcoming tutorial. So it's certain, go ahead and start investigating and researching more about the PyQt or the Qt and get ready to jump directly inside the wonderland of the PyQt. Stay with me. Thanks for your time. Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about how to easily get started working with the PyQt 6 on the PyCharm. So let's get started. First, I talked about what is the PyQt 6, and also we talked about the Qt and its features and why we need to learn the PyQt 6 on the PyCharm. So at the first step, we need to install the PyQt 6 on the Python. To do that, we can use the different methods. The most common is using the pip. So we can write the pip install, and we have two main modules. First, the PyQt 6 itself, then the tools of the PyQt 6. So I use both of these in the same line to install all of them immediately at once. So let's get started. Come over here, and this is my Hello World project. First, I created this. Also, you can create the new project, and I have the GUI or GUI here. Inside it, we have the tkinter, as I told you in my previous sections. Now I have the PyQt 6. Right click on it, new, and the Python file. I want to create the new Python file and name it PyQt 6 and the code. So press enter. Also, you can write anything that you want. In the next step, I want to talk about how to write the codes for the PyQt 6 to create your own window. So I use the PyQt 6 code. Now let's talk about how we can install the PyQt. To do that, come over here, and this is the first one, the Python packages. Click on it and write the PyQt 6 and also the patient. So this is, and you can see the description about it here. And also if I take a look at the next one, the PyQt 6 tools. So we need to use the PyQt 6 and the PyQt 6 tools. You can use this method and click on the install. But personally, I prefer to use the next method, and it is using the pip. Come to the terminal, and I can easily say the pip and the list. So this is the pip and the list. I want to get the list of available and currently installed modules on this project. So I haven't any kind of the PyQt, and you can see something like this. And after that, we can come to the file, and as I told you previously, come to the settings. And inside the hello world, this is my project, and this is, and also Python interpreter. Here I have the list of currently installed packages and modules inside the project. So I can click on the add and say the PyQt 6. Also, we have the PyQt 5, so you can work with the PyQt 5, but it is the older version of the PyQt. So I prefer to use the newer version, and this is the newer version. And also I have the tools, and this is the PyQt 6 tools. I want to install both of this, and current version is 6.1.1. In the future, this version will be changed. And also if I come and select the PyQt 6, so after a couple of seconds, I have something like this over here. And as you see over here, the PyQt 6 tools includes the PyQt designer and the QML plugins and all the features. So let's get started working with my favorite one. Close all of this, come and get inside the terminal and write the pip. This is the pip. You can see it over here. Then the install. Install what? The PyQt 6. Then a space because I want to add the second module, and it is PyQt 6 hyphen or dash, then the tools. And this is, as I told you previously, don't use any proxies or the VPNs while installing the packages. So turn off all of the proxies or any VPN applications on your computer and press the enter. So this is the result. If this is your first time to install the PyQt, it takes up to 5 minutes based on the internet speed of your connection. So you need to be patient. But this is not my first time, so it's done very quickly. So all of the files are in my Windows cache, and it's done. So I have this successfully installed, the PyQt 6, the zip or SIB, the click, the soul, also the plugins, and all of these are completely installed inside my project. So if I say the pip, then the list, I can see really great and amazing result. This is the result. You can see the tools, applications, .environment, utils, tools, also SIB, and the PyQt 6, also all of this. So everything installed successfully on my application. Also, if I take a look at the end of my installation process, you're using the pip version 21.2.2, and the new version is available. It's not necessary, but I can easily update my pip. Come over here and come to the settings, and inside the project and the Python interpreter. So I have all of available modules that are installed over here. You can see the PyQt and all of the other tools and the features over here. And also I have the pip, you can see it over here, and the newer version. So I can upgrade using this button easily and quickly. And after a couple of seconds, we have the indexing and the installation process over here. The only thing we need is patience. So we need to be patient, and let's see the result. Congratulations, my pip is upgraded, and you can see the latest version and my current version. So I can click OK, and everything is ready for me. And now we need to be sure if the PyQt is installed successfully on my project or not. To do that, as I told you previously, create the PyQt 6 code or any of the names, and inside it easily write the import and this is the import, and the PyQt 6. Then I can add the name, for instance, as the Qt or something like this, and right click over here and run. So after a couple of seconds, I have the process finished with exit code 0. Exit code 0 means the application is closed without any errors. And its meaning is that everything is working and I could install the PyQt 6 successfully on my application. Congratulations, my mission is done, and indeed we could successfully install the PyQt 6 on the PyCharm. The question is, can we work with the older version of the PyQt, like the PyQt 5? Yes, you can do it, but there is some main changes in the new version in the PyQt 6 that the codes inside its applications won't work with the older versions. So I strongly recommend you to install the newer version and the PyQt 6 on your PyCharm and the application and get start working with it. Indeed, the PyQt 6 has many great new features and the upgrades. So don't hesitate to start working with it. In the next step, I'll talk about how to create the application in the PyQt 6, especially using the code. So stay with me. Welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about how to start creating the application in the PyQt 6. Especially, I want to talk about the main project types of the PyQt 6 for creating the GUI applications. So let's get started. Previously, I talked about how to use the pip or other methods for installing the PyQt 6. After installing it, we need to start working with it. For creating the application in the PyQt 6, I have two main methods. First, we can write all of the codes manually and create our application. Then we can use the Qt designer. The first method is something like the tkinter. So we need to write everything manually, and it needs a lot of time and effort to create only the simple application or more advanced applications. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at this example. If I come over here, and this is my sample project, and I have the manual and the designer. Come to the manual. This is the simple project, and if you want to create the project, so you need to create everything in the code and write all of these codes one by one up to the end. In the tkinter, we had something like this. So if I right click over here and run, so this is the result, the simple window with two widgets on it, the label and the button. So for creating something like this simple project, we need to write all of these codes, indeed up to 19 lines of the codes. And it takes a lot of time for creating such a simple project. And this is the way that I don't like it, because it needs a lot of time and effort. You know what, some people and some programmers think that if they write everything manually, they are the real programmer. But this is not the true matter. And currently we have many things like the cars, like the computers, and like the television, and all of the widgets all around us. And we don't need to invent all of them. So currently some people invented the wheel. We don't need to invent the wheel one more time because it is invented. Instead of inventing the previous created matters, we need to create and invent the new widgets and the new tools. So it's not necessary to create something like this. But in my upcoming tutorial, I'll talk about how to get started working with this method if you love it. And despite of this method, I have another one, and it is using the Qt designer. In the Qt designer, we have the designer. So this is, and we have all of these tools and the widgets, and also the window or the form. So I can easily drag and drop everything on the window. For instance, if I want to add the button, I can select this button and put it over here. And in the properties, I have all of these properties and easily start assigning the different properties to this button. And also if I want the radio button, I can put it over here. And also I can easily click on it and say, for instance, the single. Also I have the checkbox. So this is safe. and also I have all of these items and the widgets. So we can get started working with this easily and quickly. Then load our window and the form easily and quickly inside the Python. So if I take a look at this and come to the designer, we have all of these codes for loading the UI. After creating the files in the designer, we can easily save it as the UI file. So I can easily load it in my project, something like this. It is inside the data folder, and this is the musavi.ui. So I need to use the same code. Indeed, all of these codes are common for loading any UI files. So I have the UI file over here, load it, then show it. And I right click over here and run the designer. So this is the designer, and exactly like my sample over here. And if I select this and put it over here, for instance, so save everything, come to the application and stop and run it. So this is, and after a couple of seconds, I have the same result. Also, instead of using the UI, we can convert the UI to the Python code and load it directly instead of using the UI. So we have different methods for working with the UI files, using it directly or converting it automatically by other modules to the Python codes. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned two methods for creating the applications in the PyQt 6 framework. In the next step, I'll talk about how to create the first application using the manual codes. So I'll show you both of these methods. The first one, that everything is manually, and the second one using the Qt designer. So let's get started working with it in my upcoming tutorial. Thanks for your time. Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about how to create the first PyQt 6 application using the manual coding to show the simple window. So let's get started. As I told you previously, we have two main methods for creating the applications using the PyQt 6, and it is first writing everything manually, then using the Qt designer. Currently, I want to work with the first method, and I want to show you how to write the codes manually to show a simple window to the user. So what about the window? The window is something like this, and it is a kind of widget in the Windows, Mac OS, and the Linux. So if you want to create the window, it's really simple and straightforward. To do that, come over here and come to this one. At the first, we need to import the PyQt 6, then the widgets inside it, and assign the name for that. For instance, my widgets. After that, we can create the application by the widget and assign it to my application. Then we need to define the loop to make the application visible permanently, and this is the code. So let's get started working with these codes in the real world project. To do that, come over here, and this is my project. As I told you previously, I have the PyQt 6 folder and the PyQt 6 code.py. So I have the import over here, and let's delete that and start from scratch and say import the PyQt 6 add dot. In the first step, we need to use the Qt widgets because I want to add the window, and the window is inside the widgets. And also I want to create the application, so the application is inside the Qt widgets. Also, if I take a look at this list, I have the UIC for working with the UI files, and also the Qt core that includes all the core functionalities and the GUI. And also I have the Qt boss and the designer, and also the help network, OpenGL, and the print support. And also I have the QML quick 3D and the SQL for working with the SQL databases, and the SVG widgets, the test, the XML, and SIP, and so on. I don't want to work with all of this, and we don't need to memorize all of this. Indeed, for working with the different types of the projects, we need to import some of these great classes and modules. Currently, I just want to create a simple project to show the simple window. To do that, if I scroll up, I need to use the Qt widgets and assign the name for that. This is my favorite method, and say my widgets. And it's better to add the W as the uppercase, something like this, or you can leave it by default. And go over here, add some comments. Now I have the my widgets. At the first, let's say we need to create the application. So this is my widgets at dot, and here I have the Qt application. And in this window, I can see the difference in available widgets and also all the classes. This is my favorite one, the Q application. So if I click on it, and after that add the parentheses. So I need to assign this one to another object, for instance, my app, and equals. Now my application is created and I assign it to the my app. So if I right click over here and run, let's see the reaction, the type error. The Qt application lists a string, not enough arguments. Indeed, the Q application, this method, needs the list of a string, and it is the list of arguments that we can assign it while calling the application for the first time, or the initial settings or initial arguments. Currently, I don't want to assign any settings or any arguments to my application, so I can easily assign the empty list, and this is because I haven't any initial settings. So if I right click over here and run, so it's run, but after running the application, the process finished and the exit code is 0. It means my application is closed successfully without any errors. And like the tkinter, we need to create the loop to make my application alive until I close it. So if I come over here, to do that, I have the next line of the code and the my app.exec or execute. This is the loop of the application, and the codes after this line of the code won't be run until you close the main window. And also this line of the code is responsible to get the events of the application, like clicking on the different buttons or changing the combo boxes or resizing the window and so on. So if I come over here and come to this one and add the another line of code and say my app. Now I have the application and it is my app at dot. In this list, you can see difference in available methods and the functions. I want to work with this one because I want to show my application permanently. So this is. And after that, if I run the application this time and run it, so you can see I haven't any errors here. It means that my application is running completely and successfully. But currently we haven't any window, so the result is nothing, and you can see the application is running without any errors over here. And as I told you, the codes after the exec or the loop won't be executed until you close the application. So if I print something inside it and say done, and if I run, let's see the result. So run, and nothing happens over here. It means that my application stops over here and won't run the codes after that until you close the application. For closing the application, we need to assign the window to the application. To do that, let's add something like this over here. And indeed, we need to create everything between these methods, between this and this, exactly over here. We have the same structure like this in the tkinter. So it is like the tkinter, and all of my codes for creating the window, the widgets, or anything should be over here. To do that, let's come over here. In the next step, we need to define the main window. So its data type is the Q main window, and it is inside the my widgets. And after that, I need to assign it to another object, and it is the window name. So this is the my window. After this step, I have the window and I can show it by this method, or I can set another properties to it. So let's do it in the action. Come over here, and currently I have the my widgets. So let's set my widgets, and this is at dot, and I want to add the window. So I have the Q main window over here, and after that add the parentheses. So I need to assign it to another object like the my wind or anything that you want. And in the next step, I need to show the window. It's really simple. Just write the my window dot show method. In this list, you can see the difference in available methods for working with the window, and I want to show it. So select the show. Now I have the application, and my application has the main window, and I use it to show the window. Then get inside the loop and finally close it. Now let's run and let's see the result. Congratulations, now I have the window and I can see it over here. It's really great and amazing. But it's better to add the same settings inside the window. To do that, we can define and change many different properties and methods of the window. For instance, I can use the set window title to change the title of the window. If I take a look at my example and let's run it one more time like this. So it has the text at the top of the window. It is something like the TK Inter. So before showing it or after showing it, I can change the title. So my window and the set. Set what? If you write the set, you have the set window title, geometry visible, set the font, and all of these are available to change. You can see if I scroll down, there's tons of the different methods for changing, and it's really simple and it's straightforward. So let's write the set, the window title, and inside it I can write the hello PyQt. Now if I run, I can see the result. Let's be patient. So it is, and this is the result. Hello PyQt 6, and it's really great and amazing. And as I told you, if you close the application and the window, then the codes after the exec will be executed. So let's see, currently it is nothing here, and if I close, so that's done. It means after closing the window, the application is closed and I have the son of the code that is executed, and also the exit code 0. It means my application is closed successfully. And as I told you, we have another matters and another options and properties that we can assign it to my window. For instance, if I come over here and click at dot, in this list I have another set operations and the methods. For instance, the next one is the geometry. First, I talked about the geometry in the TK Inter, but the geometry here is a little bit different. If I take a look at my example over here, and this is indeed the geometry needs 4 different numbers. The first one is the location of the x, and the next one is the y, and also the next one is the width and the height. So if I come over here and copy this part and come to this. Currently, I don't want to talk about all of these one by one, and I just want to show you how to quickly learn to work with the PyQt in the code. And my intention of this course is not talking about how to work with the code. I just want to use this topic to show deeper understanding of the PyQt, and in my upcoming tutorials I'll talk about how to get started working with the designer to easily and quickly design any kind of the applications that you want. So I have 4 parameters, and if I come over here and add the parentheses one more time, so I have the quick help over here. The AX, it is the integer, the Y, the next one is the width, and also the height. All of these are integer, and you can see something like this. The X is really simple. The space between the border of your window. For better understanding, let's come over here, and this is, and if I run, so the X is the space between the border of the left side of your monitor or a screen up to the left border of your window, this space. And the Y is the space from the top of your monitor or a screen to the top of your window over here indeed. And the starting point is this one. So if I write something like this 100, then the 100, the space from the left from the top, and also the width for instance up to 500, the width, and the height 300. Now this is, and if I run I can see the result. Let's be patient. So this is the 100, indeed the 100 is this space and this space also. The 500 is the width and also 300 is the height. And also previously I talked about how to work with the TK inter. So we had something like this image, and let's run it. As you see in this image, we have the X, and this is the space from here up to here, and also I have the Y, then the height and the width. Previously I talked about this matter, so we can use this structure for working with the geometry or the location and width of the window. So if I take a look at this and write the 0, and if I run, this is the result. This is the 0, and also if I set the next one to 0, it is the space from the top. So this is, and you can see a little bit space here. It is because of the offset or the settings of my monitor. So it is exactly over here, the 0 and 0. And also I have the 500 pixels for the width from here up to here, and 300 for the height up to here. And this is the power of the geometry. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned how to create our first widget and also how to create our first window and show it in the windows. And don't forget, we can assign many different options and properties. For instance, like the title, as you see over here, the width, the height, and many other properties and methods. But currently, I don't want to work with all of them, and my intention is only creating a simple window and show it to the user. Later, I'll talk about how to develop the power by using the Qt designer. Congratulations, we learned a lot. In the next step, I want to show you how to display the widgets like the label or the push button on the window. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in my upcoming tutorial. And don't forget, if you want to be successful and the professional programmer, you should be genius and try a lot. Practice, practice, and practice. With the best wishes. Thanks for your time. Hello and welcome. In this video I want to talk about how to easily display the widget, something like the label or the buttons on the window. So let's get started. First I talked about how to show the simple window to the user. But this is the starting point for creating the GUI applications. In the next step we need to add something inside the window, and we call it the widget. In the PyQt 6, each component is called the widget. Something like the label, push button, text edit, line edit, and so on. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at the Qt designer. I'll talk about this matter later, how to work with the Qt designer. So all of these items and tools are called widgets. For instance, this is the push button, and you can see something like this to click on it and do some operations. And also I have the radio button, the tree view, the column view, and also if I scroll down, the vertical slider, and also the horizontal slider, and label, the text browser, the LCD number up to the end. So at the first step, let's talk about how we can add the label. The label is really simple and straightforward, and it shows only the text to the user. And also how to add the push button. So we have the push button, and you can see it over here, the simple button. Let's do it in the action. To that, come over here, and this is my application. Previously I talked about how to show the window. After showing the window, we can add any widget that we want. For instance, if I come over here, and I can easily add the widgets over here after showing it, or I can cut the show and paste over here, and this is. Now I can add any control and any widget over here before showing the window. Both of these are similar, and you can use one of this. So before showing the window, I can add my widgets. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at this example. How to add the widget. Adding the widget is really simple and straightforward. At the first step, we need to use the Qt widgets, then the widget name, and the parent. The parent over here is my window. Then assign it to the widget name. And after that, use the widget to set the geometry or other properties, as I told you previously. And finally, Setting to the visible is not necessary, but it's better to do that. And here I have the example. And at the first step, I have the import and creating the application in window. And also, if I come over here, I have the show window and the exec on my application here. And inside this, I have the label and the window. So I assign the label to LBL, then set the text of my label and the geometry, including the location and the size. And finally set to visible. Then we can set on the window. So let's do it in the action. Come over here and come to this one. Before doing anything, let's add the label. Currently, I have the my widgets and it is the Qt widgets. Let's say my widgets, and this is add dot. And I want to add the label. Also, you can work with the combo box, the push button, and the font dialog. And all of these are available exactly like this. So come over here and add dot one more time and say the label, Q label, and add the parentheses. Inside the parentheses, we need to assign the parent or the container. My parent is the window. So I can say the window because I want to add the label to my window and assign the name for that, for instance, the LBL and equals. In the next step, I can add the properties to my LBL, add dot. So I can see the list of different and available methods and functions for working with the label. For instance, I want to set the text. So this is set text and say, for instance, the name or the first name. And as I told you previously in the tkinter section, the label is the widget to show only the text or image to the user. So this is the label and set the text. In the next step, I can add the geometry. So let's set the geometry, and this is, as I told you, the geometry has 4 main parts: the X, Y, width, and the height. So copy and paste over here. Suppose I want to put the label inside the window, and the X is 10, for instance, the Y is 10, the width is 40, and the height is 30. So everything is ready for me. And in the last step, I can say the LBL dot and the set visible. So I want to show it. So set the visible to true to show the label. Now if I right click over here and run, let's see the result. Let's patient. And this is the first, and I can see it completely because I have the 40 pixels for the width. So I need to increase it, for instance, up to the 80. And this is, let's stop it and run it. So the first name, and you can see it over here. And the 10 here means indeed the X, or the X is the space between this corner or the left border of the window itself up to the label. This is, and also I have the 10 for the Y, and it is the top from the label. And after that I have the width. This is the width. Finally the height, and this is the height. So don't forget this really tricky note. So as I told you, the visible is not necessary. Let's see and comment that, and let's see the result. So I can see it, and it's not necessary, but you can set the visible to true to be sure that the label is visible. And this is about how we can add the label. Also, we can add all the properties and all the methods of the label. As I told you, my intention of this course is not talking about how to work with the code, and only I'm showing this to you for deeper understanding. Later in my upcoming tutorials, I'll talk about how to start working with the designer to design your application, then use it directly inside the Python. Welcome back. Now let's talk about how we can add the button. It's really simple and straightforward. Just create your application and create your window. And after that, between your window and showing it, have the new widget, and it is the push button. The push button is the simple button. We need to assign the parent to it and assign all of this to another object, and it is the button for instance. Also, we can set the text, set the geometry, and the visible. So all of these are common between the label and most of the widgets. So come over here, and to start my tutorial, let's copy this part and paste over here. So it is the label, and let's change it to another one and say add dot, and I want to create the push button. So I have the Q push button and the window, and name it the bot, for instance, or BTN, no matter. Copy this, paste over here. I can easily set the text. So you can see the set text here. And also I have the set geometry, and after that set the visibility. So let's copy this, paste over here and here. And currently, if I run the application, let's see the reaction. So I have the button that is on my label. So I can't see my label anymore. As the result, I need to change the Y location of my button. For instance, I need to increase the Y, then put it over here, for instance. Then come over here, and this is the Y. You can set it over here. Change it, for instance, the 60. So if I run, now I have the label over here, and this is the 60 pixels and my button. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned how to add the push button on the window. So far, my mission for creating the project with the PyQt 6 is done. What about the next step? Now we learned how to work and how to create the applications in the PyQt 6 using the codes. In the next step, it's time to talk about the designer. The designer is a really great part and also amazing of the PyQt and creating the application, but it needs a lot of tips and tricks for working with it. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Now it's time to go ahead and start adding the new widgets to your window, and stay with me with my great upcoming tutorial. Thanks for your time. Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I want to talk about how to get started working with the Qt designer, especially how to run the Qt designer for the first time. So let's get started. First, I talked about how to create the first project in the Qt, but by the manual coding. So we have something like this. I talked about how to add the button, how to add the label, and also how to add the window to your application in the Python. But as I told you, we have another great option, and it is the designer. This is the designer, and we can easily use it to design anything that we want inside this environment. We have all of these tools that you can easily drag and drop on my window without any problem. So it's really important matter to use the designer for creating your applications quickly and easily. And what about the first step? In the first step, we need to know where is the location of the designer. The Qt designer by default is inside the venv folder inside the PyCharm. venv stands for virtual environment. So it is inside the PyCharm. First, I talked about how to install the PyQt 6 tools and the PyQt 6 itself. So if I take a look at my PyCharm, come over here and come to this, and inside it I have the venv virtual environment, and I have all of these options and folders here. Right click over here and open in the Explorer. Indeed, my PyQt 6 designer is somewhere inside the virtual environment. So click on it, and I have all of these folders. First, I talked about how to install the PyQt 6 tools while installing itself. So if I come over here, I have the search, and I can easily search the designer. So designer, this is the window, so I have the exe file, and press enter. I want to find the designer.exe file. In the different platforms, you can easily search the designer without using the exe. So I have the designer exe file, and if I right click on it and come open the file location. So I have the designer here, and it is inside the bin or binary, the Qt, the Qt 6 applications, and inside the site packages. So click over here, and if I take a look, I have different Qt 6 folders from the Qt 6 applications up to this, and also I have the PyQt 6 all of these are installed automatically after installing it by the pip. So if I take a look at my pip over here, and this is my terminal, and say the pip and the list, I want to get the list of currently installed packages. So I have the PyQt 6, and this is up to the Qt 6 tools. So my tools of the Qt is somewhere inside the Qt 6 applications over here. If I take a look, let's dock it over here, and this one over here. So this is great. Now I have the Qt 6 applications, and it is over here. The Qt 6 applications is installed over here. So currently my designer is inside the Qt 6 application. Click on it, and inside the Qt and the bin folder and the designer. Maybe in the future, and with all the versions of the PyQt and the Qt itself, you have all the place for saving the designer. So the best option is searching the location of the designer.exe. So it is inside the Qt 6 for my version. So this is the application. You can see it over here. And also I have the next one, the .env, and you can see it over here. And also I can see all of these, the PyQt 6, this one, and the plugins. You can see the plugins. And if I take a look at the Qt 6 applications, for instance, so this is the Qt 6 applications. Click on it, Qt, and the bin folder. Indeed, I have many other executable files and many other classes, and all of these are the DLL files, or the files for working with the Qt in the Python. For instance, if I take a look at my previous code, so let's scroll up, it is inside the PyQt 6 and the code. So at the beginning, I talked about how to import. Let's type this, how to import the PyQt 6. So this is the PyQt 6, and exactly after that I have the Qt widgets. So I have the Qt widgets over here, you can see, but with the DLL extension. The DLL extension is something like the executable file, but we can't run it. It has only the code that we can use it directly in the different applications. Also, I have another one, for instance, the SQL, the QML, the help, the GUI, and this. Each DLL file over here has its own classes, the codes, and the functions inside it. For instance, if I come over here and let's write import, this is the import, the PyQt 6 add dot. I have the Qt, the widget, the core, Qt core. So I have the Qt core over here, and also I have the GUI, so the Qt 6 GUI, and also the Qt dboss, and this is, where are you, dboss? This is the dboss, the help, the network, and you can see the help, the network, the OpenGL, you can see it over here, and also the QML and the models, and also quick 3D. So the quick and the quick test, and also the SQL. And if I take a look, I have the SQL and the SVG. So the SVG, the test, and the XML. So all of these DLL files are available directly inside my Python using the PyQt 6. So the main duty of the PyQt is connecting between the Qt files with the Python. So we call it PyQt 6. Indeed, the main files are Qt, but we need to use the PyQt to get access to all of these files. So don't worry about anything, and don't worry about all of these files and folders and executable files. I'm just talking about all of this for your deeper understanding. It's not necessary to memorize all of this. The only thing you need is the location of the designer. So I have the designer, and if I click on it, let's close my designer first. And this is my designer. Do you want? Okay. Come to the designer and run it. After a couple of seconds, congratulations, my designer is running, and I'm really happy that I can find the designer. This is the default form for selecting the project type. I can easily close that. Now I can get to start working with my Qt designer and design my applications. So I can easily come over here and close this and come to this, right click on it and pin it to a start, or send it to the desktop, or you can pin it to the taskbar. You are completely free to do anything that you want. So I can come over here and pin it to the start. Now if I open up my start, come over here, come to this one, and this is the designer. So I can get to start working with the designer directly without any problem. Okay, excellent. Congratulations. We learned how to run the designer and how to find it. And currently I'm over here in the first step, how to run the Qt designer. But it's a really great idea that I can run the Qt designer inside the PyCharm. To do that, we need to learn more topics. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I want to talk about how to start running the Qt designer inside the PyCharm. So let's get started. First I talked about how to find and run the Qt designer and pin it to the start or the taskbar. But in this video I want to talk about how to run it directly inside the PyCharm. Currently I have the PyCharm and it's a really great option if I can run the Qt designer directly inside this. We have the really great tool, and it is the external tool inside the PyCharm. We need to add external tools to the PyCharm to run the Qt designer, and it is inside the file menu, the settings, the tools, and the external tools. So let's come over here and come to the PyCharm, come to the file, then the settings. Here I can write the external tools for faster results, and we have the external tools inside the tools, or I can find it manually. So come over here and let's close this one more time and find it again. Come to the settings and the tools. Inside the tools I have the external tools. In this list I can add any of the applications to run directly inside the PyCharm. So come to this, I have the add button, click on it and name it, for instance, the Qt designer. This name is completely optional and you can write anything inside it. Then we need to use the program to select the executable file. So come over here and come to this one and the designer, right click on it. I need the location of my file and open file location. So it is inside this, right click on it, the designer, and open file location. So it is inside the PyCharm projects up to here indeed. I need to select this executable file that currently is inside my project. So the hello world, and inside the virtual and the libraries and also the site packages. Then if I scroll down, I have the Qt6 applications, click on it, the Qt and the bin, and up to here. Maybe you have the different locations, so you need to select the designer. Now come over here and copy this part and come to the program. Click over here and paste it in this text box. So I'm inside the bin directory and the designer. So this is the designer and click OK. So it's added and click OK. Now I have the external tools and the Qt designer and click OK. So it's time to talk about how we can run it. To do that, I have different options. For instance, I can come to the tools, then the external tools and the Qt designer and click on it. After a couple of seconds, you can see the results over here. And this is the Qt designer. And if I take a look at my application here, I have the run, and inside the run you can see. So if I come to this and close it, after that I have the process finished message over here. It means my application is closed. Also you can come to this file, for instance, right click on it, and I have the external tools here and the Qt designer. This is not my favorite one. I prefer to use the tools, then the external tools and the Qt designer. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned how to run the Qt designer directly inside the PyCharm. So my mission is done for finding and running the Qt designer. So it's time to start working with the Qt designer. And indeed my next step is time consuming, so stay with me. Hello and welcome. In this video I want to talk about how to start working with the Qt designer and use it for the first time. So let's get started. Till now I talked about how to easily run the designer and how to find it and how to add it inside the PyCharm. So come over here and come to this one, come to the tools, and I want to run the external tools and the Qt designer. So I have the Qt designer. Also you can run it directly, and after running the Qt designer I have the new form over here. Indeed we call the window as the form, so we can say the form or the window. Both of these are similar. And here I have the templates that you want to create your project. So you can select the first one. You can see the preview over here with some buttons, OK cancel at the bottom, and also the buttons at the right, and the next one is without buttons and the main window. So these are the dialogues. Currently I don't want to talk about this, so just focus on the learning. And the next one is widget. The widget is the empty project, and the main window is the main window that has the menu and the status bar on it. Also I have the screen size, so you can select the screen size or leave it by default. This is only the size and is not important matter. You can later change it to any size that you want. So if you want to see this one, check this or uncheck and come over here and create. So this is my window. Congratulations. Now I have the window and I can easily move it from here. Also I can resize it like this. And I have the status bar at the bottom and also the menu at the top. Currently I don't want to work with this. Just let's talk about overall structure and the environment of the Qt designer. So at the top I have the menus, the file, edit, form up to the end. Also I have the quick tools or the toolbars here. Then I have some windows like the widget box, and the next one is object inspector, the property editor, and the resource browser. And it has up to 3 different subcategories over here. So if I take a look at this one, it is the widget box, and it is a kind of toolbox, and I can get access to all of these tools one by one. For instance, if I want to add the label, I can select it from here and drag it. And also if I take a look at the next one, the LCD number, it's really cool widget. I love it. And also I have the progress bar to show the progress of the operations, and the horizontal line, and also the combo box. And then I have the text edit or line edit. We call it the text box. Then I have the horizontal slider, for instance, and also the time edit, the date time edit. And also I have the font combo box to select the font. And if I scroll up, I have the group box for grouping the controls. Currently we don't need to memorize all of this. I just want to show you the quick tour about the different tools. Then I have the toolbox and the tab widget, something like this. The tab widget, we can easily add it. And also I have the list widget and the tree view. So this is the tree, it's a really cool one. Then if I scroll down, I have the combo box and the line up to the end. Indeed, if I take a look at the top, I have the filter, so I can easily search anything that you want. For instance, I can write the button. So this is the button, and you can see the button, expand that. So I have the push button and also the radio button and the command button and so on. So I have the toolbox, and it is a really great one, and it has many great tools and the widgets. So I can easily use the tools and the widgets inside the widget box to design our application and the window. And the next one is the object inspector. The object inspector is indeed the solution or something that shows the overall structure and the controls and the items on my window. So I have something like this. Let's resize it. Great. So I have the central widget, then the window, also the combo box, the font, the group box. You can easily navigate between the available items and the widgets on my window. So I have the tab widget, and it has up to 2 other items inside it. Also I have the time edit and all of this. So we can use the object inspector for managing our available objects and the widgets on the window. Also, I have the next one, and it is the property editor. The property editor is a really important one, and we need it, and we need to use it frequently. And it's really obvious one. If you select the push button, for instance, then all of the properties available for the selected widget or the button is available inside the properties editor. So you can select the name, for instance, then you can enable or disable it. Also, if I scroll down, I have the geometry. So you can see the geometry, and you can easily change the geometry of the button. And also I can see the minimum size, the maximum size, and the font. So I can click on the font to open or expand. And also I have the family. You can change the family and set it, for instance, to the script. So this is the Segio UI. Also, you can select the next one, for instance, the script. If I see that, where are you? This is the script. So it is something like this. Or change the font size, and this is the font size. So this is really great tool and feature of the properties to select the font, including the bold, the italic, the underline up to the end. So if I click on this, collapse and expand. Also, you can click on this button and change all of the font properties in another window. But don't forget, if you got any errors in any location of the Qt designer, then crash the Qt designer. Don't be afraid, just run the application from the scratch. For instance, this is the font, and if I click on this button, after a couple of seconds I should have another window, but my Qt designer is crashed. There's many thousands of the different errors and the different reasons for crashing the application. So don't worry about anything and just try keep moving the forward. So external tools and the Qt designer. This is only the tutorial, so I didn't save anything. Do you want to restore? Yes. So it is restored. And after that, if I select this one, for instance, one more time and come over here. So I scroll down and I can see all the properties like the cursor. I can change the cursor, for instance, to the next one. My favorite one is the pointing hand. Also, I have the tooltip, and the next one is, for instance, the local, or even if I scroll down, I have the text. I can change the text from here. For instance, I can say the save, and also I can add the icon, then the theme up to the end. So based on the selected widget, we have the different types of the properties. And also I can search the property from here or change the method for showing the properties. To do that, come over here, click on this, and you can sort. So it's sorted. Or you can select the next start and select the tree view, for instance. So this is the tree view. So this is another view to show the properties. You can select anything that you want. So this is the quick tour about the properties. And also I have the resource browser to add the images and for managing the other files like the images, icons, and any other files. So I have the signal slot here to add the events, and also I have the action editor and the resource browser. So these are the main parts or the main windows of the Qt designer. Currently, you don't need to memorize all of this. Just I want to show you the quick tour about the main parts of the Qt designer. And also if I right click at the top, so I have all of this, and you can easily select this, for instance, unchecked and unchecked for hiding and showing these tools and the features. And after that, if I take a look at the next one, so this is the widget box, and I can easily right click over here, and this is the widget box. So hide or show it. And also the next one is the object inspector. So the object inspector, you can easily show and hide anything that you want. And after that, I can select this and move it, for instance, here at the top, then select that and put it over here. Just select, drag and drop anywhere that you want. For instance, drag and drop over here. So it's added over here. Or select that and put it over here at the bottom. So it's added at the bottom. Or put it over here as the window. So this is, and I can select that and put it over here. Also, you can select that and put it here, for instance. Everything is really simple and straightforward. Or click on this button and we have something like this window. So I can resize it like this and use it at another location. So you can easily customize the window and the properties based on your needs. Also, you can select this one, for instance, the object browser. And don't forget, if you lost any window, don't worry about anything. Just close the Qt Designer and open it one more time. So let's select that and put it at the top exactly over here. And this is. Let's be patient. Great. Everything will be done automatically. Also, I have the new button and the open and also the save. So I have the file. You can see all of these options here and the edit for working with the different options, including the cut, copy, paste, and set to back and the bring to front. The form and also the view and the settings window up to the help and about. So everything is available for us in the Qt Designer in the really simple and relaxed manner. I have worked with the different editors like the Visual Studio since 2000 or earlier. But the Qt Designer is really cool tool and the cool IDE that I have ever seen. It's really simple, straightforward, and the lightweight. So we can work with it, and I love this editor after the Visual Studio. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned how to work with the designer of the Qt editor. Also, you can close this, for instance, and this is, do you want to save? No, let's cancel this. And then I can add the next window. For instance, this one. This time let's select the button and the create. So this is, and also I can select this and resize it. So this is the result. And you can see some buttons over here. So let's select this and put it over here, for instance, and resize it something like this. And if you select this window or the form, then the properties of the form or the window is available over here. And if I select the next one, then the properties of this window is available over here and also the objects of it. Let's select the next one. So I have only the button box. Then if I select the next, my first one, I have all of these and also the properties related to the window. And what about the next one? I can add the next window without any problem, and the dialog without buttons or the button right and create. So this is another window and I can work with it directly. And also I can select this and put it over here and here. So everything is really in the simple manner, and after a couple of minutes working with the Qt Designer, you are completely relaxed with this editor because everything is in the best place and in the best manner. And in the last step, it's time to save the window. So this is, let's close this, discard because I don't want to save it, close this and discard. I want to save this window. So let's select this and this for better results, and also this one. And if I take a look at the save, you can see the save over here. So it's saved. But if you want to click on the file and save as, so I can change the location of the file. By default, it's saved inside the bin folder, and you can see it inside my project. So the hello world, the venv library up to the end, beside the designer. Also, you can change it anywhere that you want. The extension for saving the designer file is the UI. So you can see the UI over here. Indeed, in this video, I don't want to talk about the UI and how to work with it. So let's save it. And in my upcoming tutorial, I'll talk about the UI and how to work with it. And also I'll talk more about the structure of the UI file. So don't worry about anything and just start working with the designer. So it's your turn. Go ahead and open up your Qt Designer and start working with it. And stay with my amazing and great upcoming tutorial. I'm waiting for you. Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk more about the UI file extension and its contents. So let's get started. First, I talked about how to work with the Qt Designer and how to design the simple application, something like this. So after all of these steps, we need to save the settings and the window. To do that, as I told you, we can click on the save or come to this save or the save as. And by default, I have the UI file, the UI extension. So if I copy this path and come over here, and I want to open up the folder, so come to my PC and paste over here, and this is. So I have the main window, and it is the UI file. The UI file is the extension of the Qt designer files. So let's talk more about it. The UI file is the extension of the Qt designer files. As I told you, it stores the design of the window and all the widgets on it. And finally, it is saved in the XML format and contains definition of the Qt widgets. So these are the main features and characteristics of the UI file. Indeed, the UI files are the files that has the settings or design of the windows inside it. So you can see it is UI, and if I right click on it, I want to open it with the notepad or other text editors. So click on it. Now I have all of this, and if I zoom in holding down the control key and scrolling my mouse, at the top I have the XML. It is the most famous extension and the XML. So I have something like this, and if I scroll down, I can see all of the definitions and the structures of my widgets on the window, including the size, the width, the height, and also all the properties like the text, name, and so on. So currently I'm using the notepad, so I can see the preview of the XML file. If I copy everything, so open up my Google and search the XML online viewer. I wanna see and watch inside the XML using the online XML viewers. So you can select the first one or the next or any other websites. Let's get inside the JSON formatter.org and paste it inside it. So this is after a couple of seconds, everything will be converted. So I have the object, you can see the results over here, and then the UI up to 5 items inside it. Expand this. So I have the class and my main window. Indeed, this is my main window. This is, and after that I have the widgets up to 4 and the other properties. If I expand the widget, so I have the properties to expand that, and the first one is the rect. It stands for rectangular, and it is the geometry of my window, including the width and the height, and you can see the geometry over here. So this object includes and holds the information about the geometry of my window. And after that I have the next, it is the title, and you can see the title, indeed this one. You can see the main window over here. And also if I take a look at the next one, variable, this is, I have another 3 widgets, so click on it. Now I have 0, 1, and 2. If I click on the first one, so I have the widgets up to 10 widgets, and click on it. So you can see the 0, it has 2 properties, and it is the label. So it is the rectangular, and the next one is the text label. So I have something like this, variable designer. Let's put it over here. So I have the label. This is the text label, you can see, and all of these are inside the group box. So we have the preview, and it is inside the same widget. Also, if I take a look at the next one, I have the properties and the rectangle, and let's check it. And the next one, for instance, the 3 other widgets inside the group box, and also the properties. So all of these are indeed the preview of the designer and this. So by using the UI file, we can easily export anything for designing this window. Also, you can see all the matters like to validate the XML viewer. If I click on it, so let's start from the top, the UI, and expand up to the end. And also I can minimize, so all of the free space are removed, and then the format beauty. And this is the original XML file. Now if I take a look at the next one here and paste it. So click on the preview, and this is the result. And also I can select the minify, the format, and also let's select the preview. This is another website, and it is the xmlviewer.org. So at the top I have the UI, the parent or root node. If I expand that, I have the class, it is main window, and I have the widget, it is the main window. Click on it, and after that I have the properties. So I have the property, this is the next one, and the widget, and this widget is the central widget. And also I have another widgets, this is the next, and all of these widgets are inside the central widget, and this is the result. So all of the widgets are inside another widget. For instance, if I take a look at the next one, this is the menu bar, and it is, if I take a look, this is the menu bar. And after that, if I scroll up, I have the command link button, and also the radio button, and the geometry, and the geometry of it. You can see the rectangle over here, and also the text of it, it is the string, and so on. So the UI extension is the XML file, and it has the design of the window and every widget inside it. If I come over here and select all of this and delete them at the push button, so this is really simple, and the straightforward push button, click on it and write the save, for instance, and this is the save. Also I can add the simple label. Where are you, label? This is the label, and let's click on it and say the hello. So this is the hello label, and I have the main menu over here. Let's resize it. The main menu over here, and the status bar at the bottom. Now let's save it, or I can save as, and this is save as, and let's see the result. Yes, replace it. So if I take a look at the extension, and this is, I'll click on it, open, and the notepad. Now copy everything and get inside the online and paste over here. So click on the tree view. Now I have another structure, and you can see something like this, the UI, the main node, and I have the main widget. If I expand that, I have the property and the central widget. So all of my widgets are inside the central widget. So the next one is, as you see, the push button. This is the push button. The next one is the label and the menu. So I have the central widget. Inside it I have the button. You can see the button over here, and also I have the label. These are indeed both of these controls. And also I have the menu and the status bar over here at the bottom. So everything is inside the XML file or the UI file, and I can use it to export the design of my window to another applications, like for instance the PyQt 5 inside the Python. So the UI file is the standard file for exporting and for transferring the design of the application to another platforms. In this example, I want to work with it in the Python. Okay, excellent, congratulations. Now we learned more about the UI and its content, and also how to see inside it using the online editors and the viewers. And what about the next step? The next step is talking about how to load the UI file in the Python. And this is the last step of my quick tour about how to design the application in the Qt Designer and load quickly inside the Python. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in my upcoming tutorial. So it's your time to go ahead and start working with the UI file. And don't forget, as I told you many times or more than 1,000 times previously, the main key to become the professional and the successful programmer is your effort. And as I told you, you need to be genius and try different matters and topics. For instance, currently I'm working with the XML viewer, and I didn't talk about the minify. So you can select that and see the result over here. Or even you can click on the formats and all of this one by one and try to expand your knowledge. The programmer should has the wide perspective and wide view to everything around him or her. So don't forget this really tricky note. With the best wishes. Thanks for your time. Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I want to talk about how to start easily loading the UI file in the Python and see the results of our journey to the wonderland of the Qt technology. So let's get started. First I talked about how to work with the designer and how to create the UI file. So I have the UI file and it is something like this. Also I talked about the structure of it and how to see what's going on inside it. Now it is the next step, how we can load it inside the Python. We have two methods for loading the UI files in the Python. First, we can directly load the UI file in the Python. It's really simple, cool, and amazing, and also my favorite one. And the next one is converting the UI file to the Py file, then use it. It's a little bit difficult and has its own benefits and shortcomings. So let's get started working with the first method, directly load the UI file in the Python. For loading directly the file in the Python, we have two options. The first one is the simple direct loading the UI file in the Python. So we can directly load the UI inside the Python file. And the second one is a little bit difficult. I'll talk about it in my upcoming tutorial, and it is using the class to directly load the UI file in the Python. The first method is the simple direct loading the UI file in the Python. We don't need to create any classes or any extra codes. The only thing we need is loading the UI file. So let's get started. At the first step, let's come over here and open up my PyCharm. Hello PyCharm, what's up? I missed you. So this is the PyQt 6 and right click on it, new, and the directory. This creates the folder like the data or anything that you want for the files, for the UI files or any other files that we want. So I'll come over here, and at the next step I need to save the file inside the data. So I can come to the bin, and previously I talked about this folder and how to save the file. Also you can come to the designer and also save the file from scratch. Currently my designer is not running, so come over here, come to the tools and the external tools and the Qt designer. So let's be patient. After a couple of seconds I have the designer. Do you want to load the last? No. Let's leave it and close this one. I want to open my last saved file. So this is not important matter. You can create the new window from scratch. So let's select this and open. So it is the simple button and the label over here. Now I want to come over here and the save as. Come to the folder of my project, the hello world. So you can see the hello world. Then the GUI, and inside it I have the PyQt 6 and the data. So I can write the name for this and say for instance the Musavi or anything that you want, musavi.ui. So save it. Now come over here and come to the folder of my hello world here and the GUI and the PyQt and the data. This is the Musavi UI. Also I can set over here inside my data folder. So you can see the musavi.ui over here. I want to load this file directly inside the Python code. To do that, come over here and come to this one. Now let's add the new file and the new Python file and name it simple UI loading or anything that you want. So press enter. And this is my file. At the beginning, we need to create the application and the window, as I told you previously. To do that, come over here and come to this one. And at the beginning, like my codes, we need to import the PyQt widgets over here. And also we need to import the UIC inside the PyQt 6. Then create the application. Previously I talked about this step, and also we need to define the queue window. So this is, previously I talked about this step 2, and also this is the main difference, loading the UI directly and assigning it to my window, then change the title of my window, show it and execute. So the only difference is this line of the code, and by using this line we can load the design of the window from the UI file. So let's start working with these codes. First, I talked about how to use the manual method for loading the window or creating the Qt application in the Python. Indeed, I want to repeat all of these steps from scratch. So I strongly recommend you to watch my previous tutorial for deeper understanding. At the beginning, let's write the import the PyQt6. This is the PyQt6 at dot. And the Qt widgets. Also, I have the Qt6, Qt core, Qt GUI, the designer network up to the end. Previously, I talked about this and how we can get the DLL of this. So this is the widgets. Click on it, and I want to add the name for this and say as my Qt widget or Qt widget, something like this. I can copy this name and paste it right here for faster result. And this is the first step by using the my Qt widgets and create my first Qt application in the Python. So let's come over here and copy this and paste it over here. Great. As I told you previously, we need to create the application. So let's write the my Qt widgets. This is my Qt widgets dot and the application. This is my application. I have the empty list of the arguments. Previously I talked about this matter because I haven't any initial arguments, and name it for instance the my app, and this is, so I have the my app. In the next step I need to run this app, but currently my application can run only one time. So if I right click over here and run, let's see the result. Immediately after running, the process finished with the exit code 0. It means my process is done and it's stopped. So I need to repeat executing of my code. To do that, come over here and say the my app. This is, and I have the exec or exec. And as I told you previously, if you run this line of the code, it means hello Python, please make my application visible forever until the user closes the window. So if you use this line of the codes after the exec won't be run. So come over here, and if I write the print for instance and is done, this line of the code won't be run until I close the application. Currently I haven't any window. Let's see, I haven't anything. Indeed my application is running but without any interface. So if I stop this, and nothing happened, and this is the exit code, so it means I have some problem or I forcefully stop the application. We need to assign another part, and it is the window. To do that, come over here and come to this part. I need to define the window, and it is inside the my Qt, and this is the my Qt widgets and the window. I can use the Qt window or I can use the widget. Indeed, the type of every widget inside the Qt is the Q widget. So the Q widget is some kind of parent for all of other widgets, even if like the dialog, the LCD number, or all of these tools. So the type of these tools are widgets. Don't forget, this is really tricky note. I have the my widget. I can use the Q widget or I can use the main window. This is my main window. Don't forget to add the parentheses. Now I need to assign it to another object like my wind or anything that you want. I have the my wind, and in the next step I need to show the my window. It's better to add it over here to separate my code. So this is, and the show easily and quickly. Now I have the my window and it is inside the application, and repeat the steps. So right click over here and run. Wow, what happened? I have the window and I'm really happy to see this, and it's really great and amazing moment for me. But in the next step I need to load the data and the design into this window. To do that, I can easily use the next step or the main step. Use the UIC. Indeed, we need to import another object of the PyQt6, and it is the UIC. UIC is something like the UI converter or something like that. Now come over here and come to this one at the top. Let's import the UIC. This is the PyQt6. It is inside the PyQt6, and you can see the UIC over here. This is, and add the name for instance my UIC, and this is my UIC. Now come over here and say my UIC, and this is the UIC add dot. I have all of these options and properties for working with the UIC. I want to work with the load UI to load my file. So click on it, and inside the load UI, if I hover on it, I have the file name, then the base instance. So the UI file is the location and the name of my file. It is a string, so add the double quotations. Currently, my UI file is inside the data folder and the musavi.uii, and my Python file is the simple UI, and it is over here. So as I told you previously, I can write the data, add slash, and the musavi UI, copy, and paste over here to start my tutorial. Now add the comma over here. If I hover on the load UI, the second option is the base instance. The base instance is the type of the widget, or which widget you want to load the data inside it. I want to load the data inside the my window. So this is my window, and you can put it over here. If you don't assign anything over here, then the new widget will be created. Then we need to assign it to another object. But I want to put and assign all of the data inside the my window. So if I run the application, let's see the result. Wow, what's happened? Congratulations, it's really amazing and unbelievable. I can't believe something like this. That is really simple, quick, and easily to do. So I have the window, and I'm really happy that I can do it. Indeed, by using this end of the code, I load everything from the musavi.ui, then assign it to my window and show it over here. So as I told you previously, you can assign another features and properties to your window. To do that, come over here, and if I write the my window and add dot. In this list, I can see the different and available methods and functions for working with the window. So I want to change the text. Previously, I talked about the set text or the set title. This is the window, so we can use the set window title. Click on it and assign it hi or hello world or hello Qt world. Now if I right click over here and run, so we did it, and let's be patient, but we need to stop the application, so let's do it one more time, and this is, so let's be patient, and I have the hello Qt world and all of this over here. And what about the next step? In the next step, I can change the design. For instance, I can come over here and put this one over here, and for instance, resize it. Also, I can add the radio button, double click on it, and say single, for instance. Then I can check the next widget, like the checkbox, and say saved. So this is, and also I can select all of these options, for instance, the dial, and this is. So if I save, but we need to save the data over here, exactly on the musavi.ui. So come over here, this is my designer, put it over here for faster result, and come to this and save as. So it is the musavi UI and save. Do you want to replace? Yes. For the future saving, I can easily click on the save. Now come over here, and this is, and if I run, I can see the amazing result. Congratulations, it's really amazing and great. And as you see, we can easily design anything over here and directly save inside the UI file. Then load it without any problem and immediately on your Python code, and it is really unbelievable. So far we learned how to load the UI file. As I told you, this is the simple method. And we are over here indeed using the simple direct loading UI file in the Python. But my mission is not completed yet. In the next step, I want to talk about how to use the class to directly load the UI file in the Python. It's time consuming and also a little bit complex. So let's talk about it in my upcoming tutorial. And don't forget, after watching this video tutorial, immediately start creating and designing your application and use it inside the Python code. Everything while you're watching at this tutorial is really simple and straightforward. But the reality is another matter. You need to practice all of these codes, and it is simple for you if you practice a lot. So practice, practice, and practice. With the best wishes. Thanks for your time. Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about the second method for loading directly the UI file in the Python, and it is using the class for loading the UI file. So let's get started. First, I talked about how to use this simple method for loading directly the UI file in the Python. So we have something like this: create the application first, then use the my window and define it, and load the UI inside the window. Then show the window and so on. But in this video, I want to use something else. Instead of this part, indeed, defining the window and loading the UI inside it, I want to define the class, then load everything inside the class and assign the class to my application. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at this example. Indeed, the overall structure is like the previous one. So don't worry about anything and just stay with me. At the first look, it is a little bit scary and strange, but it's really simple, believe me. Let's see how. At the top, I defined and imported the PyQt 6 like the previous one. Then leave this one. We can easily ignore it currently. And after importing all of these, I have the Q application. You can see I created my app. And after that, I have the my window to show it, then the my app to execute, or the loop of my application. And between all of these, I have the my window. First, I talked about how to create the my window and load the UI inside it. So I need to change this part of the code. To do that, let's take a quick look at the code. I have the my window, and you can see it's nothing currently, and I have the my window class. Instead of loading directly the UI inside this object, I created the my window class. So I have the class over here, and it's really simple class. So I have the class and the my window, and it is the my window. And my window class inherits from the my Q widgets and the Q main window. So the data type of my class is the Q main window. Also, you can select the widgets or other widgets. As I told you previously, the data type of the widgets are the Q widgets. And all of these are from the Q object. So the data type of the window is Q widgets. Data type of the push button is Q widget, and so on. So come over here and come to this one. And after creating and defining the class, I need to initialize it. Now I have created the class. Immediately after that, I need to initialize it and set the initial value. So this part is the function for initializing. You can see the initialize over here. And the self here means this class. So it's a really simple one. And if you escape this part currently, in the next line, I use the my UIC, indeed this one, and load the UIC, exactly like the previous code. And this is the load UI and the my UIC, and load the UI. But in my previous method, I put the loaded object into the window. In this example, I haven't the window, but I have the class. So I load the UI, the musawi.ui, and put it inside the self. And what is the self? The self is this class, the my window. So I use the my window over here and assign it to the my window. And what about the data type of the my window? As I told you, the my window class inherits the type from this class, or the data type. So if I add the space over here and here, so I can say that the data type of the my window is the my Q widgets and the Q main window. So I can easily and freely assign the class to the my window. Now I have the my window, and I can, like my first tutorial, start working with it. Something like this: set window title or set the geometry and so on. Then show the my window and execute the loop. And execute the application loop. And finally, I have the super class over here. You know what, if you want to use the class for loading all of the methods and the attributes of the QMain window, then we need to define this class as the super. Why? Because we need to get access to all of the methods and the attributes of the parent or the QMain window. So this is my class name, my UI window, and the cell. And also initialize my class or my QMain window as the super class. It means, hello Python, please initialize the parent or the QMain window as the super class, because I want to get access to all of the methods and the attributes inside it. So it's really simple and straightforward. Also, you can delete this part and leave it empty, something like this, because it is initializing of my parent. And what is the parent? This is my parent. So let's undo, and this is the result. Let's get start working with it, and don't worry about anything. As I told you, it's really simple and straightforward. So stay with me. Come over here and come to my PyCharm. Hello PyCharm, what's up? Let's rename my previously created file, and it is the simple UI loading. Right click on it, and I want to refactor and rename. Let's define the new name. So I use the UI simple loading and refactor. So it's done. Now it is the UI simple loading. And also I need to create the new one inside the PyQt 6. Right click on it, new, and the Python file. So let's write the UI class loading. So this is the UI class loading, and press enter. Now I have another one, and it is the UI. So both of these is starting with the UI, and it is better for organizing my Python files inside the folder and the project. So as I told you, we have the same structure like my previous tutorial. So come over here, and to start my tutorial, let's copy all of the codes from my previous tutorial. So it means if you don't know anything about the codes, don't hesitate to watch my previous tutorial, because I don't want to repeat all of these steps from the scratch. So I have the my app, you can see it over here, and also I have the my Q widgets, and over here I need to change these lines. And like my previous tutorial, I prefer to add any classes or the functions at the top for better aligning of the codes. So let's write my class. This is my class, and if I come over here at the beginning, let's write the class. So this is the class, and I can say my window or my UI window, no matter. You can write anything that you want. So this is the parenthesis and the colon. So I can add the pass currently because I haven't any code here, and I just want to use the my window inside my codes. So I have this one of the code for defining the window. I don't need it, so let's delete that. And after that, I have the my UIC for loading the UI. So let's comment this out. Now I have the my window over here. So I need to define the my window. Currently, I have the my window over here, and I use all of this. Also, you can uncomment this or come to this one and say the my window or my wind. So this is the my window, and I wanna use the my UI window and assign it to this window. So copy this and paste it right here. So this is a really simple one, and I just define the new class without any of the codes inside it. Then assign the my UI window inside the my window. So if I come over here and let's run and run, let's see the result. So my window object has no attribute set window title because of this line, because currently the my window is null or devoid and it hasn't anything inside it. So I can comment the next line, and let's see the result. Come over here, and this is, so my window has no attribute show, and you can see the show is over here. So I need to use the appropriate type for my window and indeed for my UI window. To do that, come over here, and I can easily inherit this class from the Q widget and the Q window, exactly like my previous one. the myQuidgets QMain window. So I can say the myQuidgets, then the QMain window, and this is the result. Now let's see the reaction. Come over here and let's run and let's see the result. So it's done. Wow, what's happened? This time I have the really simple window, but it hasn't any kind of the UI inside it. And this is my UI, but it is completely empty. So let's save it and let's be patient. Come over here and save as on my project. This is Vario project. Come to the hello world and the GUI, the PyQt 6 data, and the Musavi. So let's save it one more time. Now this is the window that I wanna load it, or the form. So till now we learned how to define the new class and how to use it as the window creator and assign it to the my window, then show it. So it's done, and in the next step I need to write the code for loading the data. To do that, let's come over here and we need to define the initialize or the double underscore, something like this, and use the init. Init stands for initialize. I want to add the initialize method or function for my class. Indeed, the codes inside this function will be executed when you call the class for the first time or when you create the class and you want to use it. So it's time to load the data. To do that, I have the myUIC load UI up to the end. I can easily come over here and paste over here inside the initialize. So the myUIC, the load UI, and this one. And currently I have the my window and I don't need it because I want to load the UI, then assign it to the my window. And what is the my window? We can use the self instead of the my window. So the self over here. The self means hello Python, please use the class itself, or this one. Indeed, if I right click over here and come to this one and run, let's see the result. But I got this error message, the superclass initialize of the type this, or the runtime error. As I told you previously, this method or the class needs to be the superclass because it needs to get access to all of the properties, methods, and the attributes of the parent, and this is the parent. So for solving something like this error, you can see exactly the best option and the best help over here, and it means hello programmer, please make your class as the superclass. So we can easily do it. How? It's really simple. Come over here and let's write the super. This is the super. You can see the suggestions. So the first one is super something like this call, and the next one is built-in. I don't want to work with the built-in because it is the simple one, but I want to use the initialize. So this is the call. If I click on it, automatically the Python created something like this for me. So this line of the code means hello Python, please make this class as the superclass. Then we can get access to all of the methods and the attributes of the parent of this because we need it. Now if I right click over here and run, let's see the result. And this is congratulations, we did it. Now everything is loading immediately in the best and amazing results and the manner. And it's really simple and straightforward. Also, we can delete this part of the code because this is the single inheritance and I have only one parent. So I can easily delete everything inside the superclass and come over here and the run. So the same result over here, and you can see without any changes. Let's undo, and this is. And also I have the self over here. As I told you, the self indeed is the name for the class. Okay, excellent. Congratulations. Everything is done. Now we learned how to use the class for loading the design of the application from the UI file. Also, I have another tricky note. If I take a look at my remaining codes, I have the my window and the set window title. I can assign the window title in two methods. First, I can come over here and assign the set window title after loading it inside your codes. So this is, if I add the my window at dot, I can get access to all of this without any problem. So let's run and let's see the result. And this is the hello Qt word. So exactly like this. Also, instead of using and assigning the different values over here after loading it, you can do it inside your class. So I can come over here and inside my class, exactly in the initialize. So as I told you, all of these codes will be executed in the starting or calling of your class. So this is the my UIC. I can say the self, because the self means this class or this one. And if I add the dot, now I have all of this, and I can easily say the set window title or here and write anything that you want. So this is, and paste it over here. Also, you can use the self and set another properties. Let's go over here and let's see, for instance, the set. So set the geometry, set the visible, set the cursor focus, set the enable up to the end. So it's really tricky not. And this is, as I told you, you can use one of these options using the set window over here. Exactly is something like this, using it after loading your window. Both of these are identical. Congratulations, we did it. Now we know how to use the class for loading the UI in the Python. So it's your time to go ahead and start working with this really amazing and great tutorial. And don't forget, learning something like this video tutorial at the beginning is a little bit scary and difficult. But if you didn't understand what I'm doing, it means you need to watch my video more than one time, 2 times, 3 times or more until you learn it. And remember, everything that I'm talking about them or telling to you are precious. So it means I usually, and most of the cases, think about my sentences or the words a lot. So open up your project and start working with it. With the best wishes. Thanks for your time.